the big question is this: how do pastors like us who remain focused on the mission of Jesus and serving our communities without being distracted by everything in the world around us, how do we increase our effectiveness while living a lifestyle that doesn't compromise our health, our families, or our personal relationships with Jesus? That's the question this podcast is going to answer. I'm Dr. Brandon Party Cooper, and welcome to the Ministry Hackers Podcast. How's it going, everybody? Hope you are doing well and having a good day. What's your favorite breakfast food? We're going to talk about that today, what your favorite breakfast food is and what that has to do with you today. So I grew up mainly having eggs and sausage for breakfast. I'm a big fan of eggs and sausage. I know it's super unhealthy and there's debates on that, but I'm not a big bacon fan. I like bacon for my BLTs, and that's just about it. I'm not a bacon lover like everybody else is. But I grew up eating eggs and bacon, or eggs and sausage pretty much as a staple growing up. Loved it. However, I was not always very good at making them. So some of you, if you like eggs, I like my eggs with the yolk on top, so I can dip my toast in it and everything else. And but some people like it when you take and you flip it over and you cook the top side. I would prefer that. However, I'm not very good at making those eggs. And so the other day I was making eggs for breakfast, and I decided to go ahead and just try it again. I've tried before to, in order to do it, you have to, make your egg, and then you have to flip it over on top of, on its top without breaking the yolk. That's the goal. And so, the other day I thought, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to try it. It's been a long time since I've tried it before. I have tried in the past, especially when I was in my 20s and, just kind of learning to cook myself. I've tried and pretty much every time I would break the yolk. And so I kind of just gave up. I just made the conclusion that I can't do it. It's not something in my skill set to make those kinds of eggs. And so I gave up on it. And so the other day I was just kind of like, you know what, I'm just going to try it. Just try it again. And so I did. I gently picked the egg up, flipped it over, and to my complete amazement, I did it. Made them, flipped them back over, and ate them, and it was great. And then I tried it again a few days later, and then I tried it again a few days after that. And so 3 times in a row now, I've successfully made eggs the way I like them, without all the runny stuff on top and all of that. And as I was doing that, the third time I did it, I was sitting there and I was thinking specifically about all of you, as pastors and ministry leaders. I was just thinking, what things do we do in our lives, whether it's in our personal life or whether it's in our ministry lives or whether it's in our leadership? What are the things that we have over time settled in our mind that we just can't do it? We're just not, that's not who we are. That's not our skill set. It's not our strength. It's not our calling. It's whatever, however we frame it. It's something that we would like to do, or maybe even something we're maybe a little bit passionate about, but we just don't do it because we failed. When we failed several times, and we just came to the conclusion that's just not something I'm able to do. And here we are now, and probably to a certain extent, it's probably an obstacle for you. It's probably an obstacle for you to get over. It's an obstacle that's holding you back from something, whatever it may be. I know for me in ministry, one of the biggest obstacles I had was as a speaker. Now, as a pastor and as a preacher, like that's a pretty big obstacle to overcome because that's core to what we do. And I've been mentored by some great pastors, Jim Bradford and Scott Wilson, to name just a couple, who were great presenters, great speakers, great preachers, and both very different. Scott is a very dynamic and very engaging speaker, whereas Pastor Jim is a little bit more calm and a little bit more collected, and he's maybe a little bit more cerebral, but both very good in their own way. And watching them and several others that I have learned from over the years, they're just such good speakers that I just thought, man, that's not really I'll just never be as good as they are. And I spoke a lot when I was early on in ministry, um, and spoke somewhat regularly. I was never in a position where I spoke every week like some of you are, um, but it was never something that I did great. I was never great at speaking, and along the way, I just kind of made this determination in my mind that I'm more of a systems guy. I'm more of a back end, get everything together and hand it over to uh, the um, the more outgoing, charismatic person. I'll do the back end. I'll hand it to the charismatic person. They'll take it up front. In a lot of ways, that's probably held me back in my ministry and in my career as a pastor. It's probably held me back in ways that I can't even fully understand. But what I've learned over the last few years is that I really am a decent presenter. Again, I wouldn't say I'm great. I'm certainly not on the same level as a Scott Wilson or a Jim Bradford or some of the other great speakers that all of us have grown up with or learned from or listen to now. But I'm not bad. I would say that as a speaker, I'm slightly above average. I guess it depends on what you're used to. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I know now at 42 years old and 20 years ish of ministry experience that speaking is not an obstacle I have to overcome. It's something I have to continue to get better at. And it's something that I have a lot of room to grow in. But it's something that if somebody says, "Hey, I need you to come up and speak for, 20 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever," I can do that. I can do it relatively off the cuff. I can engage an audience and I can draw them in and I can bring in a congregation and I can make a point. And even if, in the right context and with prayer and um, dividing the word properly, can bring a message that is convicting and draws people closer to God. And it's something within my skill set to do. I'm not great at it still, but I'm not near as bad as I settled in my mind that I was. And so what I wanted to do, as I was thinking about that, I was thinking about all of you, I just got to thinking, what are the things that each of us, each of you, what are the things that you settled in your mind that you are not good at, that maybe you're better than you realize? And a lot of times it's because we compare ourselves to somebody else. I heard it said once, don't compare your beginning to someone's middle or end. And I think we do that. We see great people, particularly in their prime or at the end of their careers. We see them in that context and we compare where we are now to where they are. And we say, oh man, I'm never there. I'm never going to be there. But the reality is all of them probably at some point thought the same thing. The difference is that they pushed through and they kept trying and practicing. With speaking, the thing that I have told, all of my students and still tell people today, especially young pastors and young ministry leaders, is it's all about reps. You have to put in the work, you have to study, you have to do all those things, but a lot of it is just getting up front and speaking as often as possible. Every time you get an opportunity, use it, speak, and take the lumps and take the mistakes and take the embarrassing moments and just chalk it up to learning, because you're going to get better the more times you do it. And I would say for almost any skill set or anything that's out there that you are going to learn, or anything that you are, going to be good at, it comes down to that. Are you doing the reps? Are you putting in the work? And are you doing it enough times over and over again? You do things enough times over and over again, you get better at them. And so my challenge for you today in this episode is just to think about, what are the things that you wish you were better at, or you wish you were good at, or maybe it's something that you're passionate about, but you are not sure of. You're not, you've settled in your mind you're not going to be good at it. You settled in your mind that's not your skill set, or it's not whatever the narrative is that you've put in your mind. Let me challenge you to get past that. Challenge you to reach beyond that and keep putting in the reps and putting in the work and keep doing it. Because I think over time, most of us will find that we're actually really good, or at least above average, at the things that we thought at one point we just couldn't do. So for instance, even for me, doing videos, is something that I have determined that I'm not very good at. But it's something that I've just determined in my mind that I'm going to learn how to be. I'm going to learn how. I'm going to put in the effort. I'm going to keep doing these videos. I'm going to keep serving you as the Ministry Hacker community. I'm going to keep pushing forward. I'm going to keep doing the podcast just because I want to be better at it. I want to be good. And I want to serve all of you as best as I can. And that means doing these videos, doing these podcasts, getting in front, and putting myself forward and putting in the reps. And so I want to challenge you today. Take a moment at the end of this podcast, take a moment and just think, what is one thing, just one, that I wish I was better at, that I can start working towards? I can put in the reps. I can do it. I can start making small incremental steps to get better at it. Think about it, and determine that you're going to try. Determine that you're going to be better. Because the one thing that we don't want to do is fall in complacency. We don't want to fall in this rut that we can't get out of. And what happens is that over time, when we assume we can't do things well in a certain area, or we assume we're not good at something, we settle in the areas that we're comfortable in, and we stop growing. And then 10, 15, 20 years down the road, we look back and we regret because we didn't put in the time and put in the reps and actually get past our fears and concerns. And so my challenge for you today is pick one thing, find one thing, really determine you're going to get better at it. You're going to try, you're going to at least put in the effort to see if it's something you could grow in and be better at. All right. Have a wonderful day. I hope you guys are all doing well, and we will see you in the next podcast. Talk to you later.